Hi, I'm Brandy Fleck, and today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know to get started on making and working with moon water. Hit that subscribe button, leave me a like, and let's dive in. Moon water is a ritual typically practiced by witches of many types. However, you don't have to be a witch to make moon water. And in fact, based on conversations I've had with people who come in and out of the holistic wellness center that I work at, people have been making moon water for ages, and it goes back in cultures and as rituals that people just did in their ancestral lineage because they were in tune with nature. And so the point being, who can make moon water? Anybody. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, a witch, or both. It doesn't matter if you have a religion or don't. All that matters is that you're able to set an intention that is true to who you are and your own life path and purpose. Now, what is moon water? It is simply pure water sealed in an appropriate container and left to charge with the energy provided by the light of the moon. Now, if you're just beginning, you'll want to use the full moon. So most moon water that I know of is actually made under the full moon. Experienced practitioners can also make moon water under the moon in different phases and even during eclipses, which is very interesting energy. But the reason you want to be highly experienced before you start branching out from making full moon water is because the astrological placement of the moon and where you are in the world, how much light you can get versus shadow, and what kind of intentions you set can really change the feel and type of healing that will come from the moon water you make. So if you're not comfortable yet with doing shadow work, then you may not want too many shadows included in your moon water recipe, and therefore should stick with the full moon. Now let's talk a little bit about why moon water is so magical in the first place. And I can get a little heady when I'm talking about this, so stick with me. Moon water is not only a physical substance, but it's a spiritual elixir that has a real impact on people's lives. And here's why. The moon represents the divine feminine aspect of God, or you can call it the universe, spirit, nature, and also ourselves. That's huge. The moon benefits life on Earth in many ways through its feminine power. For example, the gravitational pull of the moon not only influences the ocean tides, there's myth around more babies being born on full moons. Moon cycles and menstrual cycles seem to work together, and animals even hunt differently during a full moon. Those who primarily rely on divine masculine methods of hunting, like mammals who go out and actively find and ambush their food, must calm down and let prey come to them when the full moonlight is so bright. The moon also reminds us of our own feminine power. In other words, it can help you strengthen your intuition and represent psychic abilities. When we tune into it, it can help us get in touch with our own divine feminine aspects or parts, no matter how we identify with our gender, thus making us more whole and balanced, especially if we're existing primarily in our divine masculine aspect, which is what society conditions us to do. Think you're constantly go-getting, forcing things to go your way, are exhausted from hustling and grinding. You feel like you run on adrenaline, and if you didn't have stress in your life, you're not sure what it would be like. Also, you might find yourself giving, but have trouble accepting help. That's being imbalanced and stuck in your divine masculine. And the thing is, when you're in touch with your divine feminine and it starts to balance out the masculine, you're more easily able to receive. Receive what? Well, from what I've seen in the people who use the moon water that I make, they're able to receive healing, dream jobs, and therefore money, and parts of themselves that they hadn't really looked at before. That might be the most important one, honestly. Most people who use moon water use it for healing and manifestation, but I think it really all goes back to healing. And healing, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, is really coming home to yourself, regaining balance, and moving forward in your power. Incorporating more of the divine feminine in your life also allows you to embrace darkness. When we are conceived, We gestate in the darkness and comfort of the womb for 9 months. This is proof that the darkness can be comforting, a place of development, and a place for miracles to process. Of course, the light is wonderful too, and light and darkness exist because the other does. You can't have one without the other in our reality right now. But acknowledging the dark, in which the moon uses the reflection of our biggest source of life and light, the sun, to light the way, is actually necessary and even good. It brings balance and opportunities for growth in your life. Taking a cue from the moon, you can get rid of fear, be resourceful, and influence the course of not only your life, but the world with your own gravity. And you have your own gravity once you embrace your own power. I don't mean power in the sense of someone manipulating others to get what they want. I mean real, true power, which is your ability to create, live, and appreciate the miracle you are and all you deserve because of it. All this to say, when you use moon water, you're incorporating the energy of the moon, including all its various properties depending on the time of year and other astrological events that influence it, directly into your life. And when you use water that's charged by the energy of the moon, it becomes part of you. You start to remember your own divine nature. You start to remember that you too are part of nature and the natural world. And you also remember that you're part of the cosmos as well. Then when you make it a ritual, you're reinforcing this over and over, which makes the effect even stronger. Life is bigger than the hustle and grind, and it's important to use tools like moon water that can remind you of the bigger picture so you can slow down, take it all in, and remember who you are. That's so powerful. So now let's talk about moon water benefits. At the very least, you'll be hydrated or clean. Also, moon water helps you get in touch with the seasonal flow of the earth and nature. You feel closer to Mother Earth, to Gaia. At the very most, you see noticeable changes in your life that are unexplainable. I've often thought about the placebo effect when I've been using my own moon water. Placebo can be a powerful thing. I've come to my own conclusion that it's not placebo though, because energy is real. Intentions are real. And I've seen my friends and family heal from pain overnight after using it, get the amazing job they wanted a couple days after chugging it, or be able to hold down a solid meal the next day after drinking it, after not being able to hold down food for 2 straight weeks. Those examples all seemed too big to be mere coincidences. Perhaps it was the moon water, perhaps it wasn't. That's up to you to decide. However, would the change have happened if you didn't use it? We'll never really know, but deep down, you'll know. Now let's talk about how moon water works. In a nutshell, moon water works by programming the particles of the water with intentions and reinforcing that intention by charging the particles of the water with the energy of the moon. Sound hokey? It's not. For example, have you ever heard of holy water? This is water that has been blessed by a priest to give it divine properties. People use holy water all the time and believe in it. Moon water is the same concept, only it's way more accessible to anyone, religious or not. Quantum biology is explaining more and more every day about how our bodies work with nature and on an atomic and even smaller level. This branch of science combined with quantum physics is starting to explain what's happening in what has traditionally been called magic. That doesn't mean that magic is not happening. We just have insight into how it works, so the mystery is becoming real, explainable, and understandable in a way that it becomes accessible to those who can't or won't subsist on faith alone. Faith has always been enough for me, but at the same time, the science is so interesting and it validates what mystics and spiritual teachers have been saying for not only decades, but millennia. Based on new scientific information I've been following, I hypothesize that moon water, like holy water, is a form of structured water. Structured water is the 4th state of water that was recently discovered by Professor Gerald Pollack at the University of Washington. In holistic health circles, structured water is purported to have health benefits. Now, there's a lot of disagreement about the benefits of structured water right now, and rightly so, since it's such a new discovery. But I know moon water has benefits based on personal experience, which is anecdotal evidence, which is not the same thing as scientific evidence. And I think it has those benefits because it's structured water. That's what makes sense to me. It's structured water because you can make structured water by exposing it to infrared light. The moon gives off gentle infrared light reflecting from the sun. And I think that structured water has health benefits because it's crystalline. If it's crystalline, it can hold programs within its grids and structures. So structured water is programmable. And when you set intentions, you're programming. We know that just by growing up in society. We have programs within us that we have to undo in therapy or coaching as we're healing. So it's programming. And when you're programming, you're essentially creating or manifesting an idea from your higher self. What is an intention? It's an idea you have about being. Okay? So those are the parts and pieces. And then what happens after people use moon water? Those intentions, in other words, ideas about how people want to be, such as healed, lucky, happy, for example, come to pass. So to sum it up in a less technical way, I believe moon water works because when we make it, we're literally programming the water to be helpful in specific ways just by following the simple steps to make it. This makes sense to me. If we look at how holy water is made, you can see that it's the same process. Besides exposing water to infrared light, you can also make structured water by having it come in contact with the earth or grounding it. Holy water is likely already structured because it comes from a spring or well, so it's been in contact with the earth. It's often held in an earthen container, according to Google. Then the person making it blesses it. In other words, sets intentions for it or programs it. Now, I've never seen this explanation anywhere else, and I can't wait to keep digging into it. So you better believe I'm conducting research as we speak, but you heard it here at Human Amplified, okay? So before you make your moon water, you might wonder what you can do with it. And you can do anything with moon water that you can do with regular water, but I'd recommend being more intentional about how you use it. In my own personal experience, moon water is the most powerful when used in healing rituals. However, moon water can also be used for manifestation like we mentioned earlier. And when you think about it, doesn't healing need to take place for manifestation to really work anyhow? That's a topic for another day because there's a lot to unpack there, but here's a list of activities you can do with your healing or manifestation intentions set. Drink it. Bathe in it. Include it in your beauty routine. Clean something like your crystals. Water your plants. Give it to your pets. Anoint your third eye with it during meditation. Add pure essential oils that are aligned with your moon water intentions. Put it in a spray bottle and use it as room, body, or aura cleansing spray. Scry with it. Cook with it. And make home remedies or potions with it. Now, when I say cook with it, this is an educated guess at the moment. And I think using the stovetop oven or fireside would be okay, but putting it in a microwave will turn it back into normal unstructured water, so you probably don't want to do that. Now, so far, I prefer to drink my moon water when I make it, but I'm going to try the aura cleansing and scrying ideas with it soon. Feel free to get creative with it and come up with your own ideas for how to use it too. There are no wrong answers, I don't think, except make sure you're following a few specific rules when you use it, which we can go over. And it goes without saying that if you're going to drink the moon water, you need to make sure that it's actually drinkable, clean water, okay? Don't make yourself sick. All right, to get started making moon water, you'll need highly purified water. Okay, I prefer to use a high-powered charcoal filter that removes forever chemicals and plastics from tap water. If you use unfiltered tap water, sometimes the chemicals change the properties of the water, and sometimes it even turns pink, and not in a great way for health. But if tap water is what you have, that can suffice. You can use clean water you've collected from a spring or well, and that's extra special because it already has earth energy flowing through it, which I think would make the moon water even stronger if that's what you're going for. I've heard that clean rainwater works as well, but I haven't tried it personally. And again, please note that if you're using anything other than purified water, be careful not to drink it if it could make you sick. Okay, Next, you'll need a clear container with a lid to let the moonlight in, but keep the critters and debris out. So glass is best for storing water, especially if you're drinking it. It keeps it the most pure. I typically use mason jars to make my moon water. If you'll be using it for cleaning and not consumption or for putting on your body, plastic will do, even if it's not ideal. I've heard of people throwing cases of bottled water outside under the full moon and then using it later for cleaning. You'll also need a place that gets 6 to 8 hours or more of moonlight. This can be outside, which I prefer, or inside on a windowsill, for example, as long as there's plenty of moonlight. Now, here are the instructions. Once you have all of your items gathered, you're first going to set your intentions. So as you're preparing the moon water, meaning as you're filtering it, as you're gathering it, whatever you're doing to gather your water, and then again, as you're setting it outside in the moonlights, set your intentions. And let your intuition guide you on what intentions you want to set. And then the next most important thing to do is let it sit, but then bring it in before sunrise. Okay? Then, when you use the moon water, no matter how you're using it, you can repeat your intentions in the form of an affirmation or visualization or meditate on them. You can affirm healing while letting your intuition guide your words, or simply be present with your body and just enjoy how good the water tastes or feels. Notice the sensations of how it feels going down or on your body if you choose to use it in that way, and really engage your senses as you're repeating the intentions that you want in your life. Now, here are some important rules for using moon water to ensure that it's at its most potent, okay? Make sure that you are storing it in a cool, dry, dark place. In other words, keep your moon water out of sunlight. Nothing bad will happen to it, but the sunlight will definitely seep into the water and cancel out the moon's energy. Then it'll have completely different properties, more like everyday spring water. Still fresh and refreshing, but not moon water programmed with your intentions, okay? That's also why you want to bring it in before sunrise when you make it. The next rule is to use it before the next full moon. The closer you use it to the full moon it was made under, the stronger its effects should be. The further away from the full moon it was made under, the weaker it will be. Once the next full moon occurs, the effects are likely gone, and you will have moved on to the next batch. Your next rule is ensure you're setting intentions. And I can't stress that enough. And whatever they are, ensure that you are also intending that it's for the highest good. You can ask your angels and spirit guides to help with this. And then you just need to choose how and when to use your moon water based on your own healing journey and set expectations accordingly, okay? So know that the healing or manifestations that may come will fit in with your current life narrative. So sometimes healing can feel hard, right? While other times it can feel blissful. And if the healing ends up feeling hard, try to look for the silver linings and find gratitude. Remember that it's all happening for your highest good. One frequently asked question I get a lot is, when do I put the moon water out? Meaning if, say, the full moon is going to peak at 2:33 in the afternoon during the day, do I set it out before or do I set it out the night after? And in that circumstance, I would set it in the moonlight after, because that the full moon is there, and that's when I would normally do it to get the maximum benefit. However, you don't have to worry. It's not an exact science, and the full moon energy can be felt a couple of days before and a couple of days after the actual full moon peak. So you really can't go wrong. When you're making this decision, I would encourage you to think about the properties you want your moon water to have, though. So if you're putting it out before, what does it mean if literally just a little sliver of the moon hasn't peaked full yet, right? If you're setting it out after, what does it mean if the full moon is already starting to pass just a hair, right? What does that mean for you in your healing journey? You can take all of that into account. Now, if you want to know why I make moon water, Here's a little story. So I started making moon water for myself, my family, and my friends in 2024. It started out as a fun ritual that I wanted to share simply because I love it. And soon after I started sharing it with people, stories came in from friends about how it helped them. After the success of that round, I decided to offer moon water to a larger group of friends. And every single friend who came to pick up their moon water literally held it up to their cheek and cuddled their jar separately and unknowingly from everyone else who did the exact same thing. And I think that's a testament to the energy that was emanating from it. And it's really interesting behavior. Then stories started coming in like, I've had tendonitis pain in my left wrist for months, nonstop, every day. I was able to get through work for the last 2 days with zero pain. Or I just got a call to do a contract job for Post Malone and his team. Or I'm peeing all the time. I'm definitely releasing something from my system. And now I am including a workshop for how to make moon water and write the spells that go with it in a moon ritual event that we are hosting from the Holistic Wellness Center I work at. So when you're watching this video, I don't know if it's before or after the event is taking place or when other events will be in the future, but I'll make sure that there are links in the description of this video in case you're interested. And it's all in person at this point, so you'll need to be in the Middle Tennessee area, Nashville and surrounding areas. However, if you have questions while you're making your moon water, feel free to drop them in the comments and I am happy to answer them, especially if you can't come in person to the workshops and the rituals, and maybe you can start your own ritual in the part of the world you're in, and I think it'll be really fun. So say hi, leave me your questions, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.